Anybody who has spent basically any time around me knows that one of my biggest passions is soccer. I am a huge Chelsea FC fan. We could not get it done today, but it's okay. Okay. Liverpool on Wednesday. I love the history. I love the competition. I love just sort of the pageantry of European soccer. And in stadiums all across Europe, and they've kind of imported it to the United States, but in a little bit of a worse way, supporters of different clubs have specific songs or chants that they have for different players or different moments in a match, different situations. A goal might lead to one chant. A big save might lead to another. These crowds are big and they're diverse. It's 80, 90,000 people. And at these moments, they rise in one and they all seem to know the words to the chants. I've never really understood how they come up with them so quickly, but they did. I mention all this not just because I like to wedge Chelsea or the Grateful Dead into as much as I could possibly wedge it into, but I want to introduce the fact that this week's Torah portion has one of the most famous scenes in all of the Tanakh. Last week, we read about the last 3 plagues and the Jews' eventual exodus from Egypt. This week, the story picks up with them basically at the Red Sea and them realizing, oh my gosh, there's a big body of water in front of us. And for those of you who do not know the story, Adonai tells Moses to lift his rod and spread out his arms, and the waters parted. The Israelites walked across the Red Sea on dry land, towers of water on either side. And as the pursuing Egyptian army, the pursuing army of the Pharaoh enters this dry land, assuming that whatever miraculous force of nature had caused there to be dry land in the middle of the sea would continue, Adonai caused the waters to close on top of them, and all of these pursuers drowned. Upon reaching the other side and recognizing their freedom, the Israelites feared Adonai, and they had faith in Adonai and in his servant Moses. And after that, they sang. The next thing they do, literally the next thing they do, they get to the other side, and they sang. They are overcome by emotion. They're at this moment of liberation, and they stood on what is clearly the eastern shore of the Red Sea, and they sang. The Torah tells us that their first instinct was to join together in praise for Adonai, who had led them from bondage to freedom. When I was reading this in preparation for this week, this is a story that I think with which most of us are familiar. I started thinking about this instinct to gather and sing, to offer a unified front, to sing together. And this is not always in moments of glory, in moments of liberation, in moments of happiness. We gather together and sing in moments of sorrow as well. I don't think anybody in this room is old enough to remember this, but on the evening of September 11th, 2001, September 11th, I think you're clear on what I'm talking about. The members of Congress had basically a press conference on the steps of the Capitol. It was if you imagine what the country is like on that evening, it was a weird period of mourning. And the Speaker of the House spoke, and the Senate Majority Leader spoke, and other prominent members of Congress spoke. And at the end, as they're leaving, the leaders have walked off the podium. The Congress as a whole, all 535 members, began singing God Bless America. I don't know who started it. I don't know if it was pre-planned. It was a moment that even those of us who tend towards the cynical could not find fault with at that time. The human instinct to gather together and sing. In the verse in this Parashat that precedes the song, it starts with the word then. And there's a teaching that this song had always existed inside the Israelites for the 430 years of their captivity in Egypt. But this praise could not be expressed until this final, ultimate moment of freedom. At once, in sort of one long shofar blast of exaltation, the Jewish people sang with all their might. These past 2 weeks, you've heard me speak about the ways we should struggle with parts of this Exodus story. I mean, there's lots of death. There are plagues that really affect people. We've talked about this, and we've discussed it. And I want to offer a counterpoint this week. The people whom the Israelites just seen die were not innocent Egyptians. They were a pursuing army bent on actually killing them. So I want to offer a counterpoint to the idea that there is some necessity to recognize the negative implications of an action. There's nothing wrong in celebrating a mortal enemy's demise, and to sort of put a bookend on the September 11th story. Early on the morning of May 1st, 2011, I woke to a huge volume of text. I was living in London, so this was about 4:30 in the morning. And this is the evening Osama bin Laden had been killed. And for those of you who, I guess all of you were born at this point, but people gathered. We have this human instinct to gather. They gathered at the Capitol, the same place where 10 years earlier we'd heard the singing of God Bless America. People gathered at embassies around the world. People chanted USA at Mets games. New York Mets and Philadelphia Phillies fans got along, which perhaps is the biggest miracle of them all. So tonight, I want us to think about the value of communal singing. We are here tonight, and for those of you at home, you're at home. We are a diverse group coming from a variety of Jewish backgrounds, different personal conceptions of Judaism, different ideas of what it means to gather. But at times when we are all standing up, at times when we are all singing together, our voices sound as one. And in this way, we are echoing the joy that our ancestors felt at that moment on the banks of the Red Sea. Jewish voices once again singing our praise to Adonai. And as we once again enter our weekend of rest, I want to leave you with this recognition of the importance of gathering as a community, and especially in song. Shabbat Shalom. And now I'd like